Well, Nathan, firstly, looking back to the first pre-season game on Saturday, 45 minutes in the tank, and I guess for you particularly, given the fact you joined after the pre-season campaign last year, it was nice to get involved.
Yeah, definitely. I think you don't realise the importance of pre-season until you haven't had a proper one. I feel as though last season I was probably playing catch-up for a large chunk of it, and ultimately I had numerous injuries. So yeah, it was nice to get back out there. Finish for me on a personal note, on the best note. So yeah, it was nice to get back out there. 45 minutes under the belt and back at it.
I don't know, it don't mean that much in pre-season, but you had the armband as well when you were out there?
Yeah, which is nice. It's been a couple of years since I last wore captain's armband, and yeah, it felt good. As you say, it's just getting that sort of the talking, the structure, and everything back into your game that you certainly can't work on when you're at home working on your own and stuff like that. So yeah, it was nice to get on there and to wear that armband.
Yeah, I think most people that saw you play last year for Posh will know that you are or come across as a natural leader anyway. So that, even if it was just for a pre-season game, is part and parcel of your makeup.
This is something that probably when I was a lot younger I really felt I needed to work on. I was always one to just purely focus on my own game, and it was speaking to older pros at the time that said if you can lead and organise people around you, it just makes your job much easier. So it's something that I've tried to implement even if I haven't got the armband, and yeah, as I say, to wear it on Saturday was a nice feeling as well.
Discipline during lockdown. I know when I spoke to you previously, you're obviously doing a lot of work during lockdown, and you seem the character that will do that anyway. And leading into pre-season, it's becoming more and more important, isn't it, to have that base fitness?
This is it. And I think when you look back on my own season last year, if I was to neglect that side of things, the conditioning that Craig sets us, then as I say, you're playing catch up, and I can't afford that this season. It's important that I hit the ground running from day one. None of those injuries, and put them behind us, and that's why that work that we do in the off season, I mean, you go 4 or 5 months without the football conditioning. It's a long period of time, so you've got to set yourself up as best as you can.
Yeah, people don't really realise that, do they? Everyone talks about the situation we find ourselves in globally, but from a football point of view, when you've done it all your life and you're used to that structure, that routine, when it goes, it's very hard to get back, and I suppose that's where mentally you need to be tuned into what's required of you.
Without a doubt, I think as footballers you're extremely conditioned to be that structure. You're sort of told what to do from Monday to Saturday, and when you don't have that, I know there's a lot of lads that certainly struggle with it, and it's why when you look at older pros when they retire, there's huge amounts with like depression without getting too deep. It's because they lack that structure that they've had their whole careers. So it was strange. I was fortunate, and I spoke to you at the time about having a little one to keep me on my toes and take your mind off what we were going through at that moment in time, but it's certainly nice to have the routine and structure back in our lives.
And WhatsApp groups can't replicate Ivan Toney's banter on the training base.
This is it, yeah, without a doubt. It's nice to see the lads all back jovial. It was a difficult end to last season, the way it finished, and especially when you see how the playoffs went and stuff, we certainly felt as though we were very well positioned to attack them if we did have the opportunity. So yeah, for those first couple of weeks after the decision, it wasn't nice, but it's good to be back in and seeing smiling faces around the place.
Could you watch the playoffs? I mean, I found it difficult. I'd imagine as a player it must have been hard to switch on the telly and see people there.
It was tough. I mean, ultimately felt as though we'd had that robbed away from us, and as I say, the form that we were in at that moment in time, there was certainly there's no one in those playoffs that we would have feared. If anything, they probably feared us. So it was difficult, but I think we went such a long period of time without really having any football that it was nice to see some live action again.
And September the 12th seems to be the starting point, and it's nice to have something to aim towards, because ultimately, without everything hanging over us and not knowing what's going to happen, it's nice to have some kind of target.
This is it. I think for a long period of the lockdown, not only us but everyone in general was in limbo, and to have some clarity, whether that's from the government or whether it's from the football club, it was nice. And yeah, to hear the EFL come out and say September 12th, I think the management here sort of was working towards that date, and that was the rumours we had, so it was no real shock to us. But yeah, to have it in black and white in front of us and now know how to plan pre-season and that going forward, it's ideal.
And obviously the season when it starts is going to be very hectic in terms of the games. That's part of the reason why the pre-season programme is as it is, and that will take a lot of getting used to, because as you say, your body might be attuned to Saturday, Tuesday occasionally, but it's going to be really regular this year.
This is it. I think you only have to look at the Premier League and see like the fact that they've had to play Saturday, Tuesdays, and the injuries that they've picked up, coming off the back of a long period of time and then not maybe a huge amount of conditioning before they were back in it. It was probably not a huge surprise you were seeing the amount. I only had to look at the FA Cup final the other day, and There's probably 3 or 4 players that limped off. So this period of time now that we're building up to is hugely important to get sort of minutes in our legs, that conditioning, because as I say, you can run around the pitch as much as you want, but it's the short, sharp movements that you're probably not able to replicate in the out season. So yeah, those next 6-7 weeks that we've got now be well planned and thought out, and hopefully it will set us up nicely for a hectic schedule, as you say.
Yeah, and just finally, I suppose as a senior professional, but an experienced professional, you'd be telling some of these players as well to speak up, know your body, because as you say, you are going to be tested this year more than you probably ever have in your career. You need to make sure that you don't push it further than it wants to go.
It's such a tricky one, because I think as a young lad especially, you're always trying to impress, and you're always, when you're given an opportunity to see that taken away from you by injury is so difficult. So naturally it's within us to want to push yourselves. But no, you're right, you hit the nail on the head. If there are times where things don't feel right, and your body's speaking for you, and you know yourself better than anybody else, so it's important that the boys speak up, are vocal on it, and can address it, because what can be 3, 4, maybe 7 or 10 days layoff to begin with ends up being 6 to 8 weeks, and nobody needs that with such a huge schedule.